So, but tell me this. So, this is a problem which is inherently from US, right? Uh, okay, so US is, let's say, that is definitely going to get affected. Now, if I come to Europe, Europe is already in very bad shape. Middle East, a lot of geopolitical tensions already, and everything is happening. What that we know in the case of Israel and everything. China has its own set of struggles emerging, right? They have an aging population. There are a lot of other, even debt situation there also is not that good,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Japan has sort of declared themselves that that yes, they are headed towards what we call like they basically surrendered themselves,
Yeah.
and so is Germany, right? So if I look across all the major economic powers who hold a lot of value, Russia is obviously engaged with Ukraine. Then if I look at India, so even if I, let's say, this narrative of India that India's long term story is great, right? Even let's say if this black swan event happens, uh, India will, yes, will feel some sort of jerks, and it will bounce back. But my core question is, if the rest of the world is struggling so much, then how will India still be able to be resilient? Because if the rest of the world is not doing well, if they are economically not doing well, then will it not affect India's exports? Will it not affect India's foreign exchange reserves? So, in the entire situation, how does India also sort of find the balance? Is it even possible?
The world is so strongly interlinked
Yeah.
that I'll have a buyer or a seller or a banker or where I have some money or I have to take some money from. And if some parties start defaulting, then it's a dominoes effect.
Right.
So that is what will be causing crisis and bring pain to India also.
Right.
Not going technical, but briefly I'd like to refer that it was not easy for RBI to declare in advance about the liquidity to be released in September, October, November.
Yeah.
Doing it, RBI always decides on basis of data. Deciding 6 months in advance for what has to be done later or without the base of the data was unique.
Hmm.
It is just the foresight to build up a whatever maximum resilience could be built up in the system or the support keep provided to the system.
Yeah.
So these are the unique factors which are there, and that is the specific concern I have. That with these points, it is not possible that whole of the world is at unease, is disturbed, and I am sitting quietly, and I cannot be the only oasis.
Yeah. But to just to give you sort of a counter argument on that is that a lot of people claim that, and this is typically very charged up people who say that ठीक है ग्लोबली भी अगर चीज़ें बिगड़ रही हैं बट इंडिया की तो कंजम्पशन इंटरनली बहुत स्ट्रांग है यहाँ हमारा इंडियन कंज्यूमर इज इनफ टू सॉर्ट ऑफ give the economy that boost. Even on that front, what I'm seeing is that consumption is slowing down in India also, and there are undercurrents that are being felt in corporate earnings as well. That corporate earnings are not turning out to be that strong like it was maybe a year back or 2 years back,
Yep.
right? Because now that entire narrative that was there with India, that India is very resilient, India cannot be touched. Now there are two components to this. Even when you're saying that globally also things are bad, and your internal consumption is also slowing down, then what narrative or logic are you left with that India cannot take a hit?
I that is what exactly I am saying, that India is a scenario for caution, for concern, and it is there are times with what I specifically said that is important to protect your capital than just generating returns.
Right.
Perhaps we are heading for those kind of times. Now, will it happen tomorrow or will it happen in 1 month or 6 months? I don't know. But I don't think that my perception, I don't think that it'll take very long. We
Hmm.
are at the edge of the cliff, and the global scenario, the economic scenario, is at the edge of the cliff. Everybody is at their tipping point, and you can never time the market to perfection on its
Right.
place.
So one more thing that I would like to ask, given what all we have discussed so far, I was just seeing yesterday that, and this was all over all over the stalwarts of the stock market news and everything. Now the next narrative that is being built, first it was 25,000. Now the next Joomla is 30,000. I think I should not say Joomla, but the next target for Nifty is now 30,000, right? And several reports have come in, several uh, international sort of fund houses have sort of claimed also. Uh, what do you make of that? Can Nifty go to 30,000? Yes, we have reached 25,000, and obviously we can't because you can't argue with success, or you can't argue that कि दुनिया में इतना सब कुछ हुआ फिर भी हम 25,000 पे वापस आ गए, right? Now people will again take that logic and put it here कि हम 30,000 भी चले जाएंगे.
इनफैक्ट विश्वास ये ही कंसर्न है. मैं बहुत एप्रीहेंसिव हूँ इन्वेस्टर्स को बहुत स्ट्रांगली इक्विटी में पार्टिसिपेट कराने के लिए, और कॉशन रिकमेंड करता हूँ. Depending on individuals' risk return profile and time horizon,
Right.
I still believe that a very conservative approach, or a conservative approach, will be a more prudent approach in the current economic scenario. Why do I say that? Besides other reasons, is the market resilience, which has been seen earlier, was a function of postponement of some other activities. It was not a activity because while the trade tariff was introduced,
Right.
it was postponed for 3 months, and that is why the markets rose up. While one war was done, but that war continues. It doesn't mean that that has been addressed, and that was never supposed to impact India. Everybody, every nook and corner of the neighborhood has tried to engage India in some sort of differences and arguments leading to a war kind of a situation or differences. Very successfully, the leadership and the government have been able to avoid that.
Right.
But does that mean that whole of the world is disturbed and they will let India grow alone?
Yeah.
We carry a lot of risk related to that, and I will choose to be on a conservative side and say that I'll prefer caution rather than generating returns.
Absolutely, and it is not that, like, in my personal understanding of what you have just explained so far, is that it's not that India, if let's say, is specifically doing bad, but when the rest of the world is adjusting to their own struggles, you can't grow. Similar to, like, if you're living in a 20 floor building, even if one floor collapses, everybody is going to see that impact, right? So uh, definitely caution is needed. And very interesting thing which, let's say, we often miss, and this sort of creates a fake perception, is when there are powers behind you, which obviously, as a typical retail investor, I don't have that access, and I can't maybe make what is being done behind the scenes. So when you pointed out that things are being delayed, or let's say a Fed has done certain things to pushed it down 6 months later or 12 months later, that actually doesn't solve for the root cause, or let's say the inherent risk that is still there.
In fact, that time is used.
Yeah.
That gap
Yeah,
is
in fact,
used to
that
pass
time
on
is
the
used
pain.
to sort of create that even extra hype that
That
this
pass on the
again.
pain to
Yeah.
somebody else also. So
Right.
make more participants for the pain.
Right.
And while we are the investor is anticipating gains.
Right.
So this can certainly not be in favor of what I believe about the investment cycle in terms of how we look at various multiples in terms of whether we call the unlisted space or the alternate asset classes or the fixed income return related alternates which have emerged over things, or the structured credit
Right.
which have emerged over last few years generating extraordinary returns. It
Right.
never implies that the earlier guys were not so smart enough to generate these kinds of return. They were no less smart.
Yeah.
So emergence of these things, I'm not sure how much it is sustainable. Yes, by experience, I have seen that whether it was 90s or it was 2000 or 2008, things started happening on these lines also. At least in 90 and 2000, the unlisted market and the pre-IPO markets began. So these become points of concern, and I suggest being cautious will be helpful.
Thank you so much. I think this was definitely an eye opener and would be for a lot of people. And we'll be bringing more such podcasts, guys, more such episodes. So I think it is very much in your favor that you subscribe to this, because we'll be bringing more such insightful conversations very soon.